December 7, 1941. The attack on Pearl Harbor ripped through the Pacific, shattering America's illusion of invulnerability. Overnight, the war was real, immediate, and terrifyingly close. But as the nation looked west, a colder, more insidious threat loomed in the north. Alaska, America's vast, untouched frontier, lay exposed. Its sparse defenses, its isolated outposts, offered little protection. The chilling realization spread: if Japan could strike Hawaii, they could invade the mainland. And Alaska, a mere 50 miles from Russia, was the perfect backdoor. A single, critical weakness, now glaringly apparent. America was in a desperate race. Time was not on its side. Japan's strategic reach, once underestimated, was now a horrifying reality. Intelligence reports whispered of potential northern offensives. An invasion of Alaska, seizing its airfields, would not only grant access to North America but also sever crucial Lend-Lease supply routes to the Soviet Union through the Bering Strait. Suddenly, Alaska was not just a remote territory, it was a front line. But there was no land connection, no reliable road, to resupply its distant bases. To defend Alaska, America needed a lifeline. It needed a highway. And it needed it yesterday. The clock was ticking, a grim countdown to potential invasion. The decision was made with urgent speed: build a road. A monumental artery connecting the contiguous United States to Alaska, slicing through 1,500 miles of the world's most unforgiving wilderness. The target? A functional road in just 8 months. An unheard-of pace, in unimaginable conditions. This was not just an engineering challenge, it was a gamble against nature, a testament to sheer human will. President Roosevelt himself gave the order, understanding the critical stakes. 11,000 U.S. Army soldiers, engineers, and support personnel were immediately deployed. Their mission: conquer the wilderness, or lose Alaska. They arrived in the spring of 1942, a massive deployment of men and machinery. But the wilderness of northern Canada and Alaska quickly showed its teeth. Roads didn't exist here. They had to be forged, inch by grueling inch. Dense forests, impenetrable muskeg, and treacherous rivers stood in their way. This was terra incognita, a land where maps were scarce and nature reigned supreme. The soldiers faced immediate, overwhelming isolation. Their enemy wasn't just the potential Japanese invader, but the very ground beneath their feet. Every sunrise brought a new, brutal challenge. This was survival, reimagined for modern warfare. The true antagonist of the Alaskan highway was permafrost. Permanently frozen ground, some of it thousands of years old, lay hidden beneath a thin layer of topsoil. As engineers began clearing and building, the delicate balance was shattered. The permafrost melted, turning solid ground into a treacherous, bottomless bog. Bulldozers sank. Trucks became hopelessly mired. Roads built one day would vanish into a swamp the next. The ground itself seemed to conspire against them, an invisible, shifting enemy that swallowed equipment and morale whole. It was a constant battle, a race against the very earth itself. Then came winter. And with it, temperatures plummeted to unimaginably lethal lows. 40 below zero Fahrenheit became commonplace. Metal equipment became brittle. Gasoline froze. Men developed frostbite with alarming speed. Diesel engines, crucial for their heavy machinery, refused to start, their fuel gelling into useless sludge. Soldiers learned to sleep with their boots, lest they freeze solid by morning. This was not merely cold, it was an active, malevolent force, seeking to incapacitate and destroy. Every breath was a challenge. Every movement, a desperate fight against the numbing grip of the Arctic. But the return of spring brought no relief. Only a new, tormenting enemy: mosquitoes. Swarms so thick, so vast, they blotted out the sun. These aren't just annoying insects, they were a biological weapon. They suffocated internal combustion engines, clogging air intakes, literally choking life out of essential machinery. They drove men to the brink of madness, their bites causing open wounds and infections. Sleep was impossible. Focus shattered. The relentless hum, the constant attack, added another layer of unimaginable misery. From frozen hell to insect purgatory, the Alaskan Highway project seemed cursed. Yet, despite the permafrost, the 40 below cold, and the relentless insect assaults, the soldiers pushed on. They developed ingenious solutions. Corduroy roads, made from felled trees, spanned the bogs. Heating units kept engines warm overnight. Improvised netting and repellents offered meager protection from the swarms. Their dedication was absolute. These men understood the mission's urgency, the stakes for their nation. They were building more than a road, they were building a shield. A pathway to defense. The spirit forged in adversity, bound by a common, desperate cause, was unyielding. Among the 11,000 soldiers, over a third were African American. Organized into segregated units, primarily the 93rd, 95th, 97th, and 301st Engineer Regiments, they were assigned the most difficult, dangerous, and isolated sections of the highway. They faced not only the brutality of the wilderness but also the insidious prejudice of a segregated army. They were given inferior equipment, often relegated to the toughest, most remote stretches, with little hope of recognition. Yet, their determination burned brightest. They outperformed, out-endured, often paving the way for white units to follow. These black regiments dug through permafrost, hauled logs, dynamited rock, and drove heavy equipment with unparalleled skill. They worked longer hours, often with fewer supplies, and in conditions that broke lesser men. They proved, unequivocally, that courage, skill, and patriotism transcended the color line. They faced the deep snows of winter, the melting bogs of spring, and the mosquito swarms of summer, all while confronting the daily indignity of racial discrimination. Their sheer tenacity was a foundational pillar of the Alaskan Highway's success, an undeniable testament to their unwavering commitment to their country. For decades after the war, the extraordinary contributions of these African American regiments were largely ignored, omitted from official histories, and denied the recognition they so rightfully deserved. Their names, their sacrifices, their sheer heroism, were systematically erased. The story became one of a unified, predominantly white effort, perpetuating a historical injustice. But their legacy, etched into the very fabric of the Alaskan Highway, endured. Their work laid the foundation for America's northern defense and opened up a vast frontier. The true narrative, however, remained buried, awaiting discovery. On October 28, 1942, after just 8 months of relentless, grueling effort, the two construction teams, one pushing north from Dawson Creek, British Columbia, the other south from Delta Junction, Alaska, met. A handshake between a white soldier and a black soldier symbolized a brief moment of unity, a triumph over both nature and prejudice. The Alaskan Highway, an impossible dream, was now a reality. It was a rugged, provisional road, a dirt track in many places, but it was functional. A vital artery, a lifeline, stretching 1,500 miles through the once impenetrable wilderness. Alaska was no longer defenseless. The primary objective was achieved. By the time Japan truly mounted an offensive in the Aleutian Islands in June 1942, the highway was already underway. It expedited troop movements, delivered critical supplies, and provided the infrastructure necessary to defend Alaska and launch counteroffensives. While never directly used to repel a full-scale Japanese invasion of mainland Alaska, its mere existence deterred further aggression. The highway transformed the strategic landscape, turning a vulnerable outpost into a fortified bastion. The frantic, desperate race against time had been won, against overwhelming odds and profound challenges. The initial 8-month construction was just the beginning. The hastily built road needed constant improvement. Over the next year, thousands more soldiers and civilians worked to upgrade it, widening, graveling, and stabilizing the fragile route. Bridges were built, permafrost sections were re-engineered, and maintenance crews battled the relentless forces of nature. The highway became a permanent fixture, not just a wartime emergency measure. Its existence reshaped the destiny of the North American continent, opening up previously inaccessible regions and fostering development that would continue for decades. Decades later, the true story of the African American regiment's unparalleled contribution began to emerge. Historians, veterans, and activists pushed for recognition, demanding that their sacrifice no longer be hidden. Memorials were dedicated, books were written, and their names finally began to appear in the annals of American history. Their courage, their resilience in the face of both nature's fury and systemic injustice, stands as a profound testament to their unwavering patriotism. The Alaskan Highway is more than just a road, it is a monument to their forgotten heroism, now rightfully rediscovered. Today, the Alaskan Highway, now officially known as the Alaska Highway, remains a vital artery. It is a paved, well-maintained route, attracting tourists and commerce, still connecting the lower 48 to the far north. Every mile of its winding path whispers stories of a time when America, facing existential threat, unleashed an incredible feat of human will. It is a monument to the soldiers who battled permafrost, endured -40-degree cold, and fought off suffocating mosquito swarms. A permanent reminder that even in the most desperate hours, courage, determination, and ingenuity can forge a path through any wilderness. The road still runs today.